The Hurtgen forest in Germany, nestled deep within the Ardennes, holds a haunting legacy that echoes through its towering, ancient trees. For centuries it has remained a silent witness to history's darkest chapters. Once a thriving sanctuary of wildlife and serenity, it now stands as a place where time seems to have halted, a chilling reminder of the past's brutal violence. The air here is thick with a haunting stillness, almost as if the very forest is unwilling to forget the horrors that occurred within its dense thickets. Visitors who wander into its depths often describe an unsettling sense of being watched, as if unseen eyes are tracking their every move. The forest's beauty is overshadowed by an intangible sorrow that lingers like a heavy fog, wrapping itself around those brave enough to venture in. It was during the chaos of World War II that the Hurtgen forest became notorious, transformed into a battleground where lives were lost and souls were shattered. Yet, the true terror of this place does not merely lie in its historical significance. It lies in the inexplicable, eerie occurrences that continue to haunt its pathways. From the rustling of unseen footsteps to distant whispers carried by the wind, the forest seems to possess an uncanny ability to reach into the minds of those who walk within its shadow. Those who have come here seeking nothing more than a peaceful hike or an exploration of history often leave with a much deeper, darker understanding of what truly remains beneath the surface. The forest is not just a place marked by war. It is a battlefield where the past refuses to let go, where the spirits of those who perished continue to wander, trapped in a perpetual loop of anguish. Here, in this frozen moment of history, time has not moved forward. Instead, it has been suspended in a never-ending night, one where the echoes of lost souls linger, waiting for the living to join them. As the wind stirs through the trees of Hurtgen forest, it carries with it an unnerving, mournful sound, a faint whisper that seems to reverberate from the very ground itself. It is a sound unlike any other, the unmistakable echo of a battlefield long since abandoned. Yet, for those who venture too far into its depths, it becomes clear that this forest is no ordinary place of nature. The air is thick with the weight of tragedy, as though the earth itself has absorbed the torment of countless lives lost in an unforgiving war. What once rang out as the roar of battle, the clash of weapons and the cries of fallen soldiers, now lingers as ghostly reverberations. These echoes are not just figments of the imagination. They are real, tangible remnants of the violence that scarred this land. Those who have dared to walk the war-torn paths speak of hearing distant gunfire, the ominous hum of artillery shells cutting through the air, and the guttural shouts of soldiers caught in the chaos. Yet, no matter how hard they search, no figure can be seen, no sign of battle remains. The only clue to the battlefield's haunting past lies in the air itself, heavy with the sense of something lost, something restless. Local legends tell of strange figures, robed in the tattered remnants of uniforms, drifting between the trees at night. Their presence is always accompanied by the faint sound of marching boots, footsteps that march in unison yet lack the soul to carry them forward. Those who have crossed paths with these apparitions describe them not as violent or angry, but as tired, sorrowful, as if trapped in an eternal loop, endlessly reliving the horrors they once experienced. The ground itself is said to pulse with the memories of the dead, where each step taken by a living soul is met with the soft tremor of unseen forces. Sometimes the echoes are louder, more insistent, as if the spirits themselves are crying out for recognition, for peace, or for the world to remember the sacrifice they made. But no matter how much the forest tries to communicate, it remains a place where history refuses to let go. The ghosts of the past are not at rest, forever bound to this stretch of earth, endlessly marking the place where the echoes of the battlefield will never fade. Deep within the shadowy heart of Hurtgen forest, there exists a curse, a curse that binds the spirits of the fallen soldiers to the very soil they once fought and died upon. Those who walked these blood-soaked grounds during the war never truly left. The earth, stained by the sacrifice of countless lives, seems to have absorbed their anguish, their final breaths lingering in the air like an oppressive, inescapable fog. Legends tell of a curse so powerful that it binds not just the bodies, but the souls of the soldiers who perished here. It is said that once you step onto the battlefield, you are marked, whether you are aware of it or not. The curse is subtle at first, an odd chill that sweeps over you, a feeling of being watched. But it does not stop there. Over time it grows stronger, as if the spirits of the fallen are clawing their way to the surface, desperate to make their presence known. People have spoken of hearing the quiet sounds of boots crunching through the fallen leaves behind them, only to turn around and find nothing. The oppressive feeling of being followed, of being watched from the shadows, becomes inescapable. Some claim to have seen figures emerge from the mist, their faces obscured by helmets and gas masks, their bodies twisted by the agonizing wounds they suffered in life. These apparitions do not speak, they only stand silently, their hollow eyes locked onto those unfortunate enough to trespass on their cursed ground. But the curse is not just a matter of visual or auditory hauntings, it works its way into the mind. Those who linger too long in the forest begin to suffer from inexplicable nightmares, dreams of war and death that feel all too real. In these dreams they walk through the forest as if they too are soldiers, caught in the endless battle, running from the same fate that claimed the lives of the men before them. Some even claim to feel the weight of a soldier's rifle in their hands, the burn of the cold metal pressing against their skin, as if the cursed forest itself forces them to fight and die once more. It is as if the souls of the fallen soldiers are trapped in a perpetual state of unrest, unwilling to pass on, cursed to repeat the horrors of their final moments. And those who encounter this curse are doomed to share in their fate, caught in a cycle of torment and tragedy, never truly escaping the battlefield's clutches. Those brave enough to venture into Hurtgen forest have learned to heed the warnings. The curse of the fallen soldiers is not one that can be broken. It will follow you through every step and every whisper of wind, forever reminding you that some battles never end. In the depths of Hurtgen forest, the trees are not merely silent sentinels of nature. They are the keepers of secrets, whispers of forgotten souls, of tragedy and of ancient curses. Those who walk through the forest at night claim that the trees have a voice of their own, a soft, unintelligible murmur that rises from the very heart of the forest. These whispers are not the rustling of leaves stirred by the wind. They are something darker, more deliberate. It is said that the trees carry the voices of the soldiers who perished here, their words distorted by time, their sorrow woven into the very wood. On certain nights, when the fog is thick and the air heavy with a coldness that creeps into the bones, the whispers become clearer, almost as if the forest itself is speaking. It is as though the trees are calling out, seeking something or someone. Those who listen closely can hear faint cries for help, desperate calls for salvation that never come. Some say the whispers carry the names of the soldiers who once fought here, their voices becoming part of the forest's eternal chorus. Others claim that the trees themselves have become sentient, that they can feel the weight of the souls trapped within them, and that they too are mourning the endless loss. At times the whispers grow into faint murmurs, almost indistinguishable from the sounds of the wind. Yet, in moments of silence, the voices seem to rise, carried by the breeze, reaching out like a hand from beyond the grave. Some visitors describe hearing the faint sound of soldiers' names being called out, as though the very bark of the trees has absorbed their final words. Others report hearing the trees hum low, mournful tunes like lullabies sung by a mother who has lost her child. But the most chilling stories come from those who have ventured too deep into the forest and heard not just the whispers of the dead, but the voices of the living. Voices that seem to be coming from the trees themselves, calling their names, beckoning them closer. These voices are often so realistic that the listener cannot tell if they belong to the forest or to the people they once knew. The whispers are not the comforting sounds of nature. They are unsettling, filled with grief and longing, as if the forest is begging to be heard, to have its story told. Those who have heard the whispers claim that once you've listened to them, the forest never truly leaves you. The voices of the trees echo in the mind long after you've exited the forest's dark embrace, a constant reminder that something has followed you back, something that still lingers in the shadow of the trees. For in Hurtgen forest, the trees do not just whisper. They speak in the language of the lost, and they will continue to whisper long after the living have gone. At such times, the invisible hand of time that is being played with by those who control the branches of civilization's roots seems to have a special purpose for each of us. In the quietest hours of the night, when the moonlight barely breaks through the dense canopy of Hurtgen forest, a strange and eerie phenomenon occurs, the silent march of the lost. It is not a loud procession of soldiers or an army marching with the force of war. No, this march is subdued, almost imperceptible to the untrained ear. Yet, for those who have wandered the forest long enough, the presence of this procession is undeniable. Those who are near the heart of the forest during the dead of night speak of hearing the faintest sound, the soft, rhythmic crunch of boots against the forest floor. It's the unmistakable sound of soldiers marching, but it's always distant, always out of sight. No matter how far one travels towards the sound, the march never seems to come closer. It is as if the marchers are forever just beyond the reach of the living, forever lost in a dimension where time itself no longer exists. Some have described the march as an endless loop, a procession of spirits condemned to walk the same path over and over again. These lost soldiers are never seen clearly. Their faces are always obscured, either by shadow or by mist, their uniforms torn and tattered by years of decay. The air around them is thick with a heavy sorrow, a sense of hopelessness that hangs like a shroud over the entire forest. No one knows who these soldiers are, whether they were once men who fought and died in the war, or whether they are the forgotten souls of others, lost to time. What is certain is that they are forever marching, never halting, never resting. Those who have dared to witness the silent march often describe an overwhelming feeling of unease, a deep sense of foreboding. It is as though the very forest holds its breath, as if even the trees are reluctant to acknowledge the march's presence. The soldiers make no sound other than the soft crunch of their footsteps, and yet their movement is unmistakable. There is no call to arms, no sound of military orders, only the silent, endless march. Some believe that this procession is the result of the curse that binds the soldiers to the land, that they are forever trapped in this eternal march as a reminder of the horrors they experienced in life. Others say that these lost souls are still waiting for something, for redemption, for release, or for a reason to end their journey. But no matter the explanation, the result is the same. The silent march of the lost continues, night after night, through the woods of Hurtgen. Those who encounter it may feel an overwhelming urge to join the march, to take their place among the ghosts of the past. But one truth remains: once you hear the march, once you feel its pull, there is no turning back. The forest has claimed you, and you are now as lost as the souls that walk its cursed paths, forever destined to march in silence like those who came before you. In the haunting depths of Hurtgen forest there exists a terrifying presence that stalks the living in the same way it once hunted soldiers during the war: the phantom snipers. These unseen entities are said to remain hidden in the dense underbrush and towering trees. their watchful eyes ever present, their intentions unclear, but their threat undeniable. The forest is notorious for its strategic importance during World War II, and the snipers who hid within its shadows were among the deadliest. But even long after the war's end, their spirits are said to remain, forever lingering in the mist, watching, waiting, and striking when least expected. Those who venture too deep into the forest on lonely nights report a sensation of being under constant surveillance, an oppressive feeling that they are being watched from every direction, but from nowhere specific. The eerie silence of the forest only amplifies the tension, as if even the birds and animals are aware of the presence of something much more sinister. And then suddenly the wind shifts, and a piercing silence falls. Some claim that at that moment they can feel the hairs on the back of their necks stand up, as if the snipers are locking their sights onto their every movement. The air grows cold, as if it is thickened by the weight of history and the stillness of the spirits that remain. It is the most sobering sound in the hills and trees, and the phantom snipers are said to never miss their mark. Their shots are not of gunfire but of fear, striking into the hearts of those who dare enter their territory. Some claim to hear the faintest rustle in the trees, the soft snap of a twig underfoot, only for a feeling of intense dread to wash over them, like the pressure of an unseen force pulling them into the line of fire. Yet no matter how carefully they search, no figure emerges, no sniper is seen. The sensation that someone is just out of sight, waiting to take a shot, becomes overwhelming. The air hums with the invisible threat, as if the very trees and earth are alive with the memory of those who once hid within them, waiting to strike. The most disturbing part of the legend is that the phantom snipers don't just haunt the forest. They seem to choose their victims. It's as if they are drawn to those who wander too far, to those who show a sense of vulnerability or a curiosity too deep to ignore. Some survivors of these encounters tell tales of hearing faint whispers on the wind, words barely audible, as if the snipers are communicating from a place beyond the grave. They speak not of vengeance or rage, but of quiet, cold intent, as though they are simply waiting for the next unwitting soul to cross into their line of sight. These snipers are not bound by time. They are part of the very fabric of the forest, eternally bound to the landscape they once used for cover. Their curse is one of endless vigilance, their eyes never resting, their aim always true. In the shadow of the trees, the phantom snipers wait, and if you're unlucky enough to wander into their sights, you may become the next to feel the cold pressure of their unseen gaze, forever marked by the forest's dark history. The only way to escape is to leave before you are truly seen, before you become yet another lost soul, marked by the haunting presence of the phantom snipers. The ground beneath your feet in Hurtgen Forest holds a story far darker than any written in history books. Its soil, tainted with the blood of soldiers who fell in battle, remains forever stained by the horrors that unfolded here. Despite the passing of time, the blood of the fallen seems to seep deep into the earth, never truly disappearing, leaving behind an indelible mark that refuses to be erased. It is said that the very soil of this cursed forest holds the memories of those who died here, their spirits forever intertwined with the land, unable to find peace. In the aftermath of the battle, when the war had long passed and the trees began to grow over the fallen, the earth was so soaked with blood that it became almost impossible to distinguish the natural from the unnatural. Some have spoken of strange phenomena, footprints that appear without explanation, deep impressions left in the mud as if someone had walked across the forest only to vanish moments later. The scent of blood, thick and metallic, is sometimes carried by the wind, lingering in the air like a grim reminder of the violence that once ravaged these woods. It is as though the ground itself has absorbed the pain and anguish of the countless lives lost, and now it cries out in its own muted, tortured way. Those who have dared to visit the battlefield claim that the land seems to pulse with a strange energy, a weight that presses down on them, making each step feel heavier, more burdensome. They pray more than they ever did before. Some survivors of the war speak of feeling an intense burning sensation on their skin when they stand in certain spots within the forest, a sensation as if the very earth is trying to consume them, to pull them into the endless cycle of death that has long haunted this place. The blood-stained ground has a thirst for the living. On stormy nights, when the rain falls heavy and the fog blankets the forest, the ground seems to come alive. Some claim that the earth itself starts to shift, as if it is trying to bury what lies above it, pulling everything down into its dark depths. The soil becomes a trap, sucking in anything that dares to stand still for too long. As if answering some ancient call, the land demands a price for the lives it has claimed. There are whispers in the wind, rumors that those who are drawn to the blood-stained ground may never return. The spirits of the soldiers, still forever tethered to the place of their deaths, are said to reach up from the earth, pulling the unwary into their final resting places. Many who enter the forest with the intention of merely exploring its historical significance never return to tell their tale. Their disappearance is often blamed on the forest's dark power, the unyielding pull of the cursed earth beneath their feet. Some say that at night, if you stand in the right spot, you can hear the faint cries of the fallen, calling out from deep beneath the soil, as if the blood of the past is demanding remembrance. The prophet used to preach. Ground itself seems to moan, a low guttural sound that comes from deep within the earth, a sound of sorrow, of longing, and of anger. The land is not a place of peace. It is a living, breathing monument to violence, and those who walk upon it are walking upon the graves of the countless souls lost here. Hurtgen Forest is a place where death never truly ends. It remains suspended in time, forever caught between the moments of battle and the endless torment that follows. The blood-stained ground will never forget, and it will never let go. Those who dare to tread here may find themselves bound to this place forever, swallowed up by the earth that hungers for the blood of the living. Aha! And it's so true, said Morrissey. Deep within the dark, haunted expanse of Hurtgen Forest there exists a strange, disturbing phenomenon known as the never-ending war. A cruel and relentless cycle that traps the spirits of soldiers in an eternal battle, forever replaying the horrors of the past. Though the echoes of war faded long ago from the physical realm, it is said that the souls of the soldiers who perished here are cursed to relive their final moments in a never-ending conflict. To those who wander too deep into the forest's heart, the sounds of battle are always present, as if the war itself is still raging on just out of sight. The clash of weapons, the screams of the wounded, the thunder of gunfire, it all reverberates through the trees, carried by the wind. But these sounds are not the noises of a distant past. They are the ongoing symphony of a war that never ends, a brutal, unyielding replay of death and destruction. The trees seem to whisper in the wind, carrying the stories of soldiers who fought bravely only to be cut down in an instant, and now find themselves forever trapped in a battle that will never conclude. Those who have ventured too close to the center of this cycle describe the ground shaking beneath their feet, the distant thud of explosions that send tremors through the earth, as if the forest itself is caught in the aftermath of war. Yet, despite the chaos, there is never a visible enemy, never a tangible battle to be fought. It is as if the soldiers are fighting phantoms, shadows of their former selves, trapped in a loop that they cannot break. Some believe that the forest is haunted by the echoes of this eternal struggle, and that the spirits of the fallen are unable to move on, forever doomed to fight the same battle they fought in life. The never-ending war is a curse, one that the forest itself has cast upon its visitors. Those who unknowingly cross the threshold into this cursed part of the forest are often pulled into the cycle, their minds tricked into believing they too are soldiers, compelled to fight an invisible enemy with no end in sight. Those who fall victim to the never-ending war begin to hear the calls of their comrades, urging them to fight, to push forward, to hold the line. It is a siren song that leads them deeper into the forest, toward the heart of the conflict, where they are swept into an illusion of battle. Some describe the feeling as a sudden rush of adrenaline, as if they are standing on the battlefield once again, rifles in hand, as the sounds of war intensify around them. But no matter how hard they fight, no matter how many enemies they believe they defeat, the battle continues unabated. The ground beneath their feet is soaked with phantom blood, and the forest is alive with the agony of those who fought and died in this endless conflict. As the hours pass, the soldiers' voices grow louder, more insistent, urging the newcomers to join them in their struggle. Yet, no matter how hard the trapped souls fight, the war never ceases, and they can never escape. Many who have stumbled upon this cursed battlefield speak of a profound sense of disorientation, as if time itself has become distorted. The battle appears to go on forever. One moment it is day, the next it is night, and yet the sounds of war persist, as if they are outside the normal flow of time. Some survivors claim to have witnessed soldiers vanishing into the mist, only to reappear moments later, continuing the same fight with the same intensity, as though nothing had changed. Those who are fortunate enough to escape this trap often carry with them a sense of unease, as though the war has followed them out of the forest. The memories of the battle stay with them, lingering in their minds, as though they too are now bound to the never-ending war. The forest has a way of making the impossible feel real, of pulling the living into the web of war that never truly ends, and for those who wander too deep, there is no escape. The battle will continue, the sounds of war will never stop, and the forest will keep claiming new souls to fight in its endless conflict, forever reliving the horrors of the past. The forest falls out as a positive event, and the negative events erupt in a continuous existential war.